Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am excited to have with me James I. Bond. And let me tell you about James Bond. He is one of America's leading behavioral management and business marketing specialists and is the author of the multi-award winning book, Brain Glue: How to Sell Easier, by Making Your Ideas Sticky. For 13 years, he ran one of Southern California's leading behavioral management firms, working with a who's who of American businesses. Early in his career, he ran an advertising agency in Montreal, working with a wide range of Fortune 500 and smaller firms. He is a past workshop chairman and sold-out workshop leader for the resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and has been a featured guest at 3 Southern California universities and has been a popular guest on a wide range of marketing and business podcasts. So, like his book is saying, we're going to talk about how we can sell more by making your ideas sticky. Please welcome James Bond.
Hi, Vicki. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I love your show. Your show rocks, so it's fun to be on it.
Yeah, awesome. So we always start with an easy question. I gave a lot of different cities, but where do you call home? Where do you live now?
Well, I'm originally from Montreal, but we moved 37 years ago to Southern California. We actually named our middle daughter, we gave her the initials L.A., Lauren Asia, AJA. And so we'd remember, how long have we been here? Well, how old's Lauren again? Okay, 37. There we go.
That's awesome. Yes, there's a lot of my friends that moved from Canada just down the side of the U.S., I guess, to California, different parts. But
it's a little warmer here.
Yeah, a little warmer. Absolutely.
We were sometimes like 50 below zero, like with the wind chill and everything. So it's like, whoa.
I know. It's different kind of place.
Yeah.
Of course, you can get that in Minnesota and different some of our middle states. So I gave a lot of your history of and your accolades, but talk a little bit, just briefly, about your journey that led you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I want to say this to set this up so people understand what I'm talking about, okay? So how many people have to get rich knowing this before you decide you want in too, okay? Including products like Naked Juice, Gorilla Glue, TikTok, GoDaddy, Famous Amos, In-N-Out Burgers, Squatty Potty, Richard Branson's Virgin companies, Pop-Tarts, and more. They became blockbusters, often with almost no money. And they were created using a formula that's so simple to copy that it's blowing people's minds. And I'm originally from Montreal, and I worked my way up and had an advertising agency, and eventually won clients like Kraft Foods, Timex Watches, Seagram's, their world headquarters is there. Avon Cosmetics, it was lots of fun. And I had the opportunity to win the anti-drug campaign in America. And I came up with powerful, logical reasons why you should not do drugs. And I lost. And what did I lose to? I lost to a guy holding an egg saying, "This is your brain."
Brain
cracking the shell and dropping the exactly.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, but think how long ago it was. Yet they dropped the egg into the sizzling frying pan. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? It terrified me because it was profoundly more powerful than my ads because it was emotional selling,
It
not logical
was.
selling. But it scared me because it's emotional selling. How do you do emotional selling? I know logic. We were taught logic in school. How do you tell people what they want? Show them the logic, right? But I started to realize that people buy for emotional reasons. When I
Yeah.
was young, I went to a workshop with Zig Ziglar. I love Zig
Mhm.
Ziglar, and it really changed my life. And he said, selling is nothing more than a transference of passion.
Yeah.
If you're let's say you see a movie that you love, nobody has to teach you how to sell it. It's like I saw Hidden Figures, with the three black women in NASA.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Mhm.
Nobody has to tell me how to sell it. I just, you can feel the passion and everything else. And I realized that with advertising, we need to transfer passion. So we often will we'll look at something and go, wow, this is really great. Now we want to come up with an ad or something. And we try to be very logical in how we describe it. It's very good. It's, whatever else is good about it. And yet people buy for emotional reasons. And if you're too logical, you sort of, you miss emotionally triggering them.
Yeah.
So about 10 years later, I moved to Southern California. Well, I started this box. I put a box next to my computer. I call it the passion box. Every time I saw an ad or heard something that I loved, that was really emotional, more than logical, I would put it in the box. In fact, my wife hated going to doctor's offices with me because, they have different magazines that you normally look at. I'd be looking through a magazine and go, oh, wow. And she'd go, do not tear it out of the magazine. I said, no, look at how fantastic this is. This is amazing. Anyway, she'd sit far away. Like, I do not know that.
I don't know that, man. Now you can
Exactly.
take a picture of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I didn't back then. Today, that's,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be this marketing whiz, and I always laugh because I say when Steve Jobs came out with a camera on a phone, I said, who needs a camera on a phone? Boy, you should see how many pictures I have on my phone.
That's exactly
Amazing.
right.
We'll be driving by a truck and I'll go, oh, pull out my phone. We got to take a picture of it. Look at how great, what the ad is on the side of the truck. But anyway, so I moved to Southern California and I met John about 10 years later, and I met John Gray. And John Gray is an author who wrote an incredible book called Men, Women, and Relationships. And he was telling me he was frustrated because people who read the book loved it, absolutely said, this has changed my life. This is the best relationship book I've ever had. And yet almost nobody was buying the book. So one day he's sitting in a seminar trying to promote the book, and he said something, and all the women in the audience started laughing hysterically. And the men looked at the women and went like, what's so funny what he just said? And one of the women started laughing and said, it's almost like men don't get it. It's like they're from a different planet. What planet are men from? And he said, I guess men are from Mars. And the whole audience laughed hysterically. When he got home, he went like, wow, that really motivated everybody, saying men are from Mars. Where are women from? I guess women are from Venus. Venus is the god of love. What if I change the title of my book to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and tweak the content just a little, just to refer to it throughout the book? But it's the same basic book. What do you think happened? As we all know,
went to the charts.
almost overnight, 500,000 copies got sold, then 1 million. I know Steve Harrison, who helped him with marketing. And in my book, I said he sold 10 million copies. And Steve said, no. I said, Steve, I talked to John and I did research. He said, no, we're over 50 million books sold. He went from 20,000 to more than 50 million books sold, all because he changed the title.
Yeah.
And so when I got home, I'm carrying the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I'm realizing, wait a second, men aren't really from a different planet. I mean, I know there are a lot of women out there who believe we are. We seem like we are. We don't have horns or anything. But it's a metaphor. It's like men are so different. It's almost like they're from a different planet than women are from. Okay, and that's the metaphor he's basically using with Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And then I realized that, wait a second, that egg one, holding an egg and dropping it into a frying pan and saying, this is your brain on drugs, that's also a metaphor.
Yeah.
Are metaphors the secret to emotional selling, or at least one of the secrets? So when I got home, I dumped the passion box on my bed, and I discovered that metaphors is one of 14 brain triggers at the heart of emotional selling. I thought my brain was going to explode. I went, have I just figured out something that nobody really knows how to do. And so because I've worked as a coach and a consultant for many years, for many decades, actually, I'm old. And I applied it to my first client. So I said, I got to try this on my clients and see if this works. It was a construction company who, after 10 years, had $2 million of sales. That's not bad, right? 2 million in sales? Ha, ha, ha. In 1 year, I took them from 2 to 10 million in sales. And they reached 32 million 2 years later just by applying brain glue. And it was like, whoa, this is like scary. I had an online business. I was selling pet supplements online. And I started applying brain glue to that. And it exploded. I remember I called my wife and I said, hey, Pam, American Express just charged our credit card $1,000. And she said, well, shut it off, like turn it off. I said, no, wait a second. We just made 10,000, 11,000. I'll call you right back. When I realized how much money we were making from this, of course, I called my wife and I said, hey, we made like $14,000 from $1,000. Of course, the first thing she said was, well, spend more. My wife, she's great. But I started to realize, like, this is really fantastic. Now I've done a lot of work, volunteer work for U.S. Small Business Administration. I do workshops and webinars and seminars all the time. And I started applying this and eventually wrote the book, Brain Glue, related to that. So how do you apply, how do you create product names and pitches and phrases that are sticky enough that they stick to the brain like glue? And I've had tremendous success and made a fortune. It's fun. In the beginning, I was scared. It's like, wow, we just made over $1 million. Did I break the law? Like, that's scary. And then now I'm okay. Hey, yeah, keep the money coming in, But I started applying it to clients and started teaching people how to apply brain glue. And people said, you got to write a book on it. By the way, I'll show you how bad I am, okay? So I wrote the book, and it was originally called Dump Your Half-Ass. So it was an ass, okay? And it was like Big Ass Fans. I read the bio of Big Ass Fans and how when he changed the name to Big Ass Fans, sales exploded, and he ended up selling the company for $500 million. I mean, he couldn't believe how much he sold it for, okay? And so I went, okay, so that was my ass week, okay? Well, like, oh, ass, how people use ass. So I said, Dump Your Half-Ass Marketing Strategy was the name of the book. But then Amazon is going through this cleanup process, and they said, we're not going to allow you to advertise using a swear word. And so they gave me permission that I could change the title of the book, and I would still have the
original deal.
Yeah, the referrals, because you want people getting you want to get the reviews from people. And so they gave me that, which they don't normally do, but they allowed me to do that because they forced me to change the name. So I changed the name to Sell More with the Right Brain Marketing Strategy, which is a left brain, which is logical, not emotional.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So I gave the book to a lot of famous people, and Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, he sold 500 million. Can you imagine 500 million Chicken Soup for the Soul books? I mean, it's amazing.
Crazy.
Well, he read the book and he loved it. He said he was mad at me. He said, I'm really pissed off. I said, I'm sorry, why? He said, I started reading a book. I couldn't put the damn thing down. He said, I'm really sorry. Can I get a quote? Can I use that quote? He said, I'll give you lots of quotes. You can videotape me. We'll videotape it now and whatever else. I love your book. He bought copies and gave it to everybody in his company. He's got all these different people in his company. Nice. He said, you can use it on one condition. You have to change the title. He said, you have this logical title. You're teaching us to be emotional selling, and you got a logical title. The whole book is about brain glue. You got to change it to brain glue. I'm like, do I have to? He said, yes. You want my quotes, and you can, it's crazy. You're teaching us emotional selling, and you've got a logical title. Actually, somebody said to me, one of my friends, I'm so glad you changed the title because we couldn't remember the name of your book. It was so long. And worse, my name is James Bond, James I. Bond, but James Bond. So you can't look up James Bond and find me because you find Sean Connery and all the other Bonds long before you get me. So yeah, but it just sales exploded for me, and it was just lots of fun. And it's fun sharing it with people because people just have so much fun. I mean, there's a mom and her son in Utah. And they were watching Shark Tank, and a lot of people watch Shark Tank and get really inspired, like, wow, having a product would be fun and all this stuff. And so they're thinking it would be really great if we can spend a little bit of money and create a product and then sell it, and maybe hopefully get on Shark Tank. So the mom has She's constipated. And, it took about a month to come up with the product, because you don't normally say, okay, what a great idea, let's get into business. And then immediately you come up with the product. You got to think of something that'll be really valuable. So the mom was constipated. She has a constipation problem. And so the doctor told her, if you raise your feet 6 to 8 inches off the ground when you're on the toilet, it really helps the shape of your body, and you can actually go to the bathroom easier. And so she started doing that and discovered, wow, this really works great. And then they went, wouldn't that be a fun product to sell? Is a toilet stool that kind of wraps around the toilet. So, people don't notice it, but when you're on the toilet, you can pull it out and then just put your feet on it. Wow, what a great idea. And they said, well, okay, that would be fun. They found the manufacturer and they said, we need to come up with a name for it. We don't want to call it the toilet stool, because it doesn't sound very good. My wife says they should have called it the stool, but I don't think that's the best name for it, okay? Okay, so anyway.
I think I love your wife.
Okay, really. So she's thinking toilet stool. I don't like the word toilet in it. What's another word for toilet? Potty. And you're kind of squatting. Squatty potty. Let's call it the squatty potty. Sales exploded. They said and they got on Shark Tank. They reached $100 million of sales, and they had no business experience, because they came up with a name that really resonated. And so, it's just, as people discover this. I didn't invent brain glue. I invented the term brain glue. But brain glue itself has existed because people, like Jack Canfield was telling me, his book was originally going to be called 101 motivational stories that'll change your life. But he's thinking that's not the best name for his title. And so he said it took him about a month. And one day he woke up and he was thinking, when I don't feel well, chicken soup really helps me. Maybe I should call it chicken soup for the spirit. Doesn't really sound right, but it's close. Chicken soup for the spirit. And he said it took him a weekend of sleepless nights. And then he thought, SOUP, soup, soul. Chicken soup for the soul. That sounds better. And that became the title of the book.
Yeah.
He sold 100 million Chicken Soup for the Soul books and 400 million of the other chicken soup books. Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul.
Yeah.
Chicken Soup for a Cancer Survivor soul, etc. Even he can't believe how many books he sold. And then he has over 60 other bestsellers. But he was telling me, I have 60 other bestsellers, but people buy the book because I'm Jack Canfield and they know who I am. And I've got money to promote the books and everything. They're really good books. I mean, he's really quite amazing. But he said, I know right now that was almost the only book that I ever used brain glue type tools with. And I wish I had your book back then, because I would have started applying it to other books, because it resonates. It sticks to the brain so much that people remember it and want to buy it. It's amazing.
So we talked about how you discovered it. We talked about the emotion that is really important. And I agree that even, as a speaker, whenever I'm teaching people how to be a better speaker, I say, you got to be vulnerable. You've got to take them on that roller coaster ride so their emotions are impacted, because that makes you memorable. So just to your point, an emotional title or book name is going to really bring on that emotion, and people do make decisions because of emotion.
Well, but brain glue applies to speech too. Yeah. So how about this? I work with Warren Buffett's team, okay? And he said he loves brain glue type tools, and he said, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. Whoa. What he's basically saying is only when times get tough do you realize who's capable and competent. But if he said that, you go, yeah. But if he says only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked, first you got a visual there.
Yeah, that's
like wow. It really stands out. I remember, ask not what your country can do for you. President John F. Kennedy, ask what you can do for your country. It's something called chiasmus, or it's a flip. Like all for one and one for all. That's a brain glue tool. He said, President John F. Kennedy said, Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock, the rock landed on us. He said, when you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. Yeah. Okay. And so when you hear things like that, I love Zig Ziglar. He said, you have to have an attitude of gratitude. Avoid stinking thinking. It's rhyme. Okay. I mean, he uses tools like that. And so there was President well, O.J. Simpson. We all remember this, right? If the glove doesn't fit, you have to
has
quit.
to quit.
Okay, I mean, it. So when people use these types of tools in talk, it sticks to the brain. Now, I promote it for business. So we have a product or service. You want to come up with a slogan, that's really great. And it works for slogans too, like Morton Salt. A lot of people remember Morton Salt. Morton Salt dominates and has dominated the salt industry for over 100 years. Their slogan was, when it rains, it pours.
Mm-hmm.
What they're basically saying is, it goes a metaphor, so wow, it pours really smoothly. Back in the day, salt used to clump, up. And they were the first ones that developed a salt that doesn't clump up. It's pours smoothly. So they're going, pours. Okay, pours. What else pours? Rain pours. Okay, so they came up with this
Girl with the
slogan
umbrella.
with a girl with the umbrella, and it's rain coming down, and when it rains, it pours. That's their slogan,
Yeah.
And it made them a blockbuster of success.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I'm just, when you start to see brain glue, when you learn how brain glue works, you start seeing it all over the place, and you go like, oh wow, like how's this? How would you like someone to steal your idea and become rich while you're struggling? Would that be fun? Yeah, not. Okay. So the head of Post Cereals is competing with Kellogg's. And they decided they wanted to come up with a totally different type of product. And so he said, why don't we come up with a little cake that has jelly inside it, like strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, and you put it in a toaster. And when it comes out of the toaster, you have a nice warm cake you can eat. And let's call it Country Squares. Okay. 3 months before they launched it, he bragged about it to the media. So the media showed it and everything else. So the head of Kellogg's went, oh, that's an incredible product. We got to steal that. Okay, guys, watch this. We need to figure out how to make that product, okay? And they did. And then he says, we have to come up with a better name. So he went, it pops out of the toaster, so pop. And then back then, Andy Warhol was really famous, and he was a pop artist. So that's called anchoring, where you take something that's already in the brain and you use it or twist it just slightly.
Right.
So pop art and Pop Tarts. So he came up with Pop Tarts. What a great name. Of course, he launched it 1 week before Country Squares launched. Okay, they knew they're launching it in 1 week, guys. You have to launch it today. And they exploded in sales. Sales exploded. In fact, exploded so much it became the biggest selling product that Kellogg's had. And they ran out of product almost overnight. And so they ran apologies in newspapers saying, we're so sorry we ran out of product, but hold on for a couple of days. We're going to have more product for you. Nobody bought Country Squares. They waited for Pop-Tarts to become available again. And then they bought it.
Wow.
And then 6 months, Post stopped selling Country Squares because nobody was buying it.
Yeah.
They stole the name. They stole the product, but they had a better name, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
And it's just, people loved it, which they still do. I was reading this thing. It said they sold 3 billion Pop-Tarts this year.
They still, that's still a very, very popular thing.
Yeah, it's a popular thing. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. It's a popular thing. So a lot of what you've been sharing is a part of what your expertise, and that is in behavioral management and, understanding the right brain versus the left brain and how you can use it to your advantage. So let's talk about, just as business owners, besides products, it's, coming up with the name of your business, name for your book, name for your talk. All those things are areas that, we struggle with. And, now we're kind of using AI to help us a little bit with that. But just give us some tips on, how we can brainstorm to get brain glue going.
Sure. So I'll give you a few of the brain glue tools and give you examples of how to apply them. Okay. So let's start with a metaphor. Okay. Or analogy. It's the same thing in this case. And it's just like blank. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be as crazy as possible. Okay. I mean, when I had Warren Buffett's line, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. I said, oh, wow, it's like brain glue is like a naked man running through your backyard. Okay. I know this guy who's an advertising guy. He helps people who have advertising companies, him and his partner, and his name is David Baer, B-A-E-R. And I said, I've got the perfect name for you. Bare Naked Advertising. His partner went, perfect. And he's going, no, I don't think I want Bare. And then, my name was Naked, So, but I think it would really work well. So come up with the metaphors. Actually, let me give you a metaphor that's really crazy, but as you'll understand why it works so well. But so the first thing you want to do is come up with a metaphor. My product or idea or service is just like blank, and be as crazy as possible. Let me give you a crazy example. So this guy, Paul Tran, invented an electric razor for men's private areas. I don't want to get too much into this, but okay. But man, I never bought this. If I bought it, I wouldn't share it with my friends. So let's start there, okay? But he decided he's thinking, I have an electric razor for men's private areas. I want to come up with a name that lets people know immediately what it does, but doesn't offend anybody. So what could I call it? It's just like a lawnmower. Why don't I call it the lawnmower? In fact, he sold hundreds of millions of dollars of so much that he changed the name of his company to Manscaped. So you can landscape a man with a lawnmower, okay? So I didn't buy one, but if I bought one, I could call a friend and I could say, hey, Joe, that's what I just bought. What's the lawnmower? Why, you have to mow your lawn? No, it's for man's private areas. He started laughing and turned to his wife, hey, Mary, guess what James just bought? What's the lawnmower? Well, he has to mow his lawn? No, he's mowing his body,
Oh,
it's
my
so
goodness.
funny, but it resonates. I remember being in, I think, Bed Bath & Beyond or one of the stores, and it said the lawnmower with an arrow, as a poster with an arrow pointing to the electric razor. And I'm like, the lawnmower? What's that? And I read the text and went, oh, I get what it is, which is it got me to read the text, okay?
Exactly.
And it works. So metaphor is one, and that's a great one, is to think of, it's just like, say, my product or idea is just like what, okay? And start by being as crazy as possible. Just have fun with it. Second one is rhyme.
Yeah.
Like squatty potty, okay? So come up with words that describe your product or service. Always start with logic, because we're logical people, most of us. So start with a logical description of what it is. Come up with as many words as you can, and ChatGPT or AI can help you. But come up with as many words as you could think of that relate to your product or idea, and then find words that rhyme with it, okay? I like to say, switch your pitch if you want to get rich, for brain glue, okay? Brain glue lights the fire of desire in your buyer, okay? So how did I come up with that? Well, switch your pitch if you want to get rich is an easy one. So I was going, your pitch, okay? Pitch, what rhymes with pitch? Oh, rich. Oh, good. Hey, pitch. Switch your pitch if you want to get rich. So I suddenly figured that out, okay?
That's awesome.
Then the second one was, I said, I want a more advanced one, so more sophisticated one. So let's see, I'm really getting people to get passionate about, about their product or service that they have. We want people to get passionate. So what's another word for passion is desire. Oh, buyer rhymes with desire.
Yeah.
Light the fire, light the fire of desire in your buyer. Oh, wow, that works. And that's, come up with that. So rhyme really helps. And then the last one, I mean, there are lots, there are 14 of them, but the last one here is alliteration, the repetition of sound.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I realized alliteration, Marilyn Monroe is a good example, because she actually changed her name. Her name was Norma Jean Mortensen. And her manager said, Norma Jean's not a really good name. Marilyn's a better name. And she went, okay. And her mom's maiden name was Monroe. So she went Marilyn Monroe. Okay. And she thought that was really good. She didn't realize, but the reason it felt right was because of alliteration. Marilyn, Chevy Chase, there's certain things.
Yeah.
And then the second thing she did was she loved Jean Harlow, who was in the early days of the movie industry. She was a blockbuster of success.
Yeah. And
Jean Harlow had platinum blonde hair, and Marilyn's hair was brown. So she went to the same hairdresser as Jean Harlow, because she lived in Southern California, and it said, please dye my hair the same color. So she had platinum blonde hair, and it was now Marilyn Monroe with platinum blonde hair. But one day she had a beauty mark on her cheek, and so she covered up the beauty mark with makeup. But one day she's looking at photographs of Jean Harlow, and she realizes in some of the photographs, Jean Harlow has a beauty mark on her cheek, and in some it's on her chin. And then she goes, wait a second. I bet she doesn't even have a beauty mark. I bet she just put a dot on her face. And so she made her beauty mark dark with eyeliner or whatever, instead of making it light. And suddenly it's around that time that she became a blockbuster success. And she believes it's because she put that dot on her face. Asymmetry. So there's Cindy Crawford, in her biography, Cindy Crawford was the first supermodel.
Mhm.
And in her biography, she talks about how she has a birthmark above her left lip.
Yes.
And when she was young, she begged her mom, please take me to the doctor and get this removed. And she said, I am so glad my mom didn't do that,
Yeah,
because
makes her
I bet
unique.
it's because of that beauty mark that I became a supermodel. I never would have become it after all, you know? And so it's just like, really? Put a
Mhm.
dot on your face? But it's asymmetry. Like my wife loves symmetry. You know,
Mhm.
some guy who has a lazy eye, it drives my wife nuts for watching a movie or something. She says you can cover his face, half his face, and he looks like one person. You cover the other half, he looks like a totally different person. It drives her nuts. But asymmetry grabs your attention.
Yeah.
So David Ogilvy, in the early days of the advertising industry, he was one of the gurus of the advertising industry, and he was doing ads for Hathaway shirts. Now Hathaway shirts became so successful eventually that Warren Buffett bought it, and that's why his company is called Berkshire Hathaway, because it's
Ah,
Hathaway shirts. Okay, but
didn't know
back then
that.
it was the beginning of Hathaway shirts, and David Ogilvy said, I have to create an ad for Hathaway shirts. So what am I going to do? If I do a picture of a good-looking guy wearing one of the nice shirts with a nice pair of pants, maybe in a nice background, it'll look just like every other shirt ad.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, you know, you look through a magazine, you just a shirt or whatever else, clothing ads, whatever. So what he did was he recognized the power of asymmetry, make something odd, and he put an eye patch on the guy over one eye. You know,
Mhm.
he wasn't a pirate, but he put an eye patch on the guy, and he called the headline "The Man in the Hathaway Shirts," in the Hathaway shirt, but never explained why he's got an eye patch. And in every one of the Hathaway shirt ads, a guy had an eye patch while you do that, and it grabs people's
So
attention.
yeah, they
They
know,
went,
oh, that must be Hathaway.
exactly, and especially because they read the headline. You look at a guy in an eye patch, and the first thing you wonder is, hey, how come he's got an eye patch? So you read the headline, "The Man in a Hathaway Shirt," bang, it sticks to your brain.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, you know. So yeah,
So
it's when you
cool.
start learning these tools, you start going, oh, that's how the brain
Oh,
works.
that makes sense.
Yeah, really. It's like, so
Oh,
I love the Jack and Jill went up the
hill.
hill. Who doesn't know that, right? I could be in my deathbed and somebody could say, hey, James, Jack and Jill went up there. And I go, hill to fetch a pail of water, you know, on my deathbed, because it sticks to the brain. Rhyme sticks to the brain.
Yeah.
You know, it's why, I mean, it's why we remember things and then they resonate so much. You know, it's amazing. I mean, those types of tools. So I would say metaphor, rhyme, and
Mhm.
alliteration, repetition of
Alliteration.
sound. And there's so many, you know, when I started realizing how powerful alliteration is with like Marilyn Monroe and all this stuff, Coca-Cola, Best
Yeah.
Buy,
Mhm.
Lululemon,
Mhm.
PayPal, TikTok. You know, my youngest daughter, I have a son and three kids. We have a son and three kids. I didn't give birth to them. My wife did. Okay. But my youngest daughter, I was telling her that you like TikTok. Well, TikTok is a Chinese social media platform. And she said, no, it isn't. It's not Chinese. I said, yeah, it is. She started checking it out and went, oh, yeah, look at that. It's a Chinese social media platform. If they called it the Chinese social media platform, you think it would be as successful as TikTok?
Heck no. Heck no.
Really? I mean, these are experts. And, you know, from a lot of the big companies, you know, a lot of, you know, people think Coca-Cola, wow, that's, you know, they were rich. They weren't rich to start with. You know, today we think they're a blockbuster, they're a multi-billion-dollar company or whatever else, but they didn't start that way.
Right.
But the name they came up with helped them become successful. I mean, I love, what does Richard Branson, Madonna, and olive oil have in common?
I don't know what.
The word virgin.
Ah, like a
Virgin
virgin.
olive oil,
Yes.
like a virgin.
Yeah.
Touch for the very first time. I won't get to that. I'm a terrible singer. And virgin. Richard Branson dropped out of high school when he was young, borrowed money from his dad, and started a magazine to help promote people in the music industry. Eventually, he started a record company. He wanted to come up
Right.
with a name that's catchy, so he said, "Oh, why not call it Virgin Records?" He ended up winning all kinds of major people like the Rolling Stones and others.
Yeah.
Eventually, he had, you know, now he has Virgin Airlines, Virgin Galactic, and all that stuff. I had this woman in Texas, and she's telling me, "Oh yeah, all over Texas, they've got Virgin hotels." I didn't know that. Okay, you know.
Wow.
So there's Virgin ships, you
Yeah.
know, cruise
Cruise.
ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just all that stuff because of the word virgin. It's like Eve Ensler did a play off Broadway, and it became massively successful. And it's about women's, the hardship that women go through. Okay. And so if she called it The Hardship Women Go Through, would that be as successful as the Vagina Monologues?
Yes.
I mean, what did she call it? The Vagina Monologue?
Yeah.
But the Vagina Monologue became a blockbuster in a large part. It was good content, but in a large part because of the title. And that's why even HBO has it covered. They're covering it too. I mean, it just became a blockbuster of success because she picked a name, that really resonated with people's brain. Sticks in a brain like glue.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
So many good things shared today. We could probably talk for hours.
Yeah.
But time has flown by. I know that you all that are listening want to try to connect with James. So I'm going to share my screen as always. If you have not done so, go grab a paper and pencil if you're just listening, or you can go to my YouTube channel and download that, or you can go to findyourleadershipconfidence.com. But if you are listening and watching, you can go ahead and get a screenshot right now. I even have that book right there for you. If you sell anything, you better read this. It says Brain Glue. The website is cf.fasterbuyer.com, Brain Glue. So cffasterbuyer.com, Brain Glue. And that tells you everything you want to know to make you really want to get this book. He uses all his techniques, I think, on that website. But you can go to his Facebook group, become a member of that group, as well as going to LinkedIn at James I. Bond. Remember, there's that middle initial there, James I. Bond. And the call to action is for James to tell you all about. So what will you find whenever you go to your LinkedIn page, your Facebook group, and your website?
So we have lots of information on it. Some testimonials, but it isn't just about selling it. It's about describing how Brain Glue works, and famous people that have used it in their quotes and things like that, and of course product names and stuff like that. And so and by the way, there's one more thing I wanted to add to this, and that is we have mini Brain Glue. If you do just minibrainglue.com, we just created this. We have a chapter from it so people can go through an absolutely free chapter. Awesome. So just I think that once people read it, they share it, which is so much fun for me. Awesome. It's just, but yeah.
Excellent. Wow. So we really learned how we can make our ideas, whether they're our book, our speech, our ads, our emails, how to make them sticky by applying your techniques in Brain Glue. So thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing all those wonderful stories as well as techniques.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast. So to get on the podcast is just a real, awesome. Real blessing and pleasure.
Oh, that's so great. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.